2025 NFL Draft here in Green Bay. We've got fans from all over the world.
Just gonna say international too, right?
Our 32 international fans of the year, season ticket members, super fans, some partners across the board. So we're really excited to welcome them here, and touched on it a little bit. Excited to be in Green Bay, but so much of the success of the NFL is focused on the fans. So to kick us off, can you really just share with us a little bit? What do the fans mean to the success of the NFL?
Well, it's hard to describe because the game obviously exists without fans, but it's not the same. It's not the same experience. And I think we experienced that during COVID. When you didn't feel that electricity, that excitement, that passion, that whether you're in the stadium, which obviously you all feel, but even when you're home, you feel it and you sense it. And I think that really drove home to us that you really are the lifeblood of the game ultimately. That that's why we all do it. That's why we all work so hard to bring our game to more people around the globe. And because we see the passion that you have and we see how you embrace the game and frankly how you make the game better. So a big thank you to all of you for that, for
Now, something that's been so special about the NFL draft for me is getting to experience all these incredible markets and taking the draft on the road. You were a big part of us getting to do that. We started the draft really as a business meeting. It's taken place through many ballrooms, I'm sure similar to this one, for a long time in Radio City. But a credit to you and a lot of folks at the league for seeing the vision of taking the draft on the road. So can you share with us a little bit, what's been your favorite draft memory or moment over the years since we've gotten to experience all these incredible cities?
Well, let me take back a little bit on the draft because I was watching NFL Network this week and they were showing video from the 1974 draft. I was not there, thank you very much. But I was pretty close, so don't laugh too much. But and it was in a ballroom, probably about this size, honestly, because it was still there when I joined the league in 1982. I think 83 draft was my first draft, and it was literally no larger than this. The commissioner was Pete Rozelle, used to stand not even on a high rise this high, it was about that high, because you could see everybody. And it was really mostly team tables, and so it was fans. I bet you it was a quarter of what's in here. And that was sort of the growth period for really to the early 80s when ESPN said we'd like to broadcast the draft, and Pete Rozelle at the time started laughing. He said, "Why?" Because at that point in time, I wouldn't say it was the most thrilling television, and they obviously continue to broadcast that to today, and I think they've been great partners in helping us build the draft. They've helped us put it on primetime. They put it on ESPN and ABC and other networks that have sort of broadened the appeal of the draft. Not just because it's more than just a big day for the teams, right? The teams all get better. I love that part of the draft. But it's also, I think there's a tremendous amount of curiosity about the players, their journey, how they get there, what they overcome. And so, we have multiple broadcasts, including our network, ABC, ESPN tomorrow. And ABC will focus on that part of the draft. Where did these players come from? How did they get there? And all the things that they did to achieve that. And it's also why the favorite moment for me, and it's not one, but it's the favorite moment for me is as commissioner. Literally is when that player comes across the stage and you're part of that moment where he now feels like he is an NFL player for the first time. He is with the team, he knows where his career is going, and all that work and all the sacrifices that he and his family make is just an emotional moment for him. And it's, some of the guys, they played real big the day before. As a matter of fact, they were doing it again this morning with me. But I guarantee you, it'll be an overwhelming emotional moment for them. And for me to just be there just for that moment is a really cool thing for me. So people think it's the trophy of the Lombardi Trophy. It's not bad, okay? It's pretty cool. But that is a more meaningful moment to me, honestly.
you touch a little bit, you know, really the draft is that player journey to finding their, you know, hopefully forever home or at least future home for next season. But a big moment that's, you know, become a staple of any draftee's experience is the hug. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the hug really started because of you and a certain some player. It seems like it's a moment that you enjoy, and certainly the prospects and draftees do. So you can tell us a little bit of the backstory behind how the hug came to be and what you maybe tell each draftee in that moment when you get to welcome them on stage to their new team.
Oh, Jeff, you're asking for secrets too, huh? I would say the first draft hug I really truly remember, it may have happened before, but the one I thought really was the one that turned it was Gerald McCoy. He was selected by Tampa, he played at Oklahoma, and they came to my office, all the players, the day before, and we spent a couple hours, and he was a real jokester, and he still is today. He's one of our NFL Network personalities, and he just, you could see he's the leader in the room. He sort of took over the room, and he was very funny, and just, you know, you thought that this guy was gonna never break down. But he pulled me aside at the end and he said, you know, I lost, and I think it was his mother or grandmother. I apologize for not knowing the detail of that, but, and when he came out, I thought he was gonna kill me. And he's a big guy. And but it was all emotion. It was just, you know, he just was crying and saying, my mother would be so proud of this. And it just was a moment that I'll never forget. And I think it sort of took off from there. You know, I think a few other players did it that year, and then it just sort of, it became a thing. And yeah, I do love it. Again, you're part of that moment. It's sometimes painful. Sometimes these guys get the best of me. They're big and they're strong, and it is that emotional time. So they don't, I think, even really remember how strong. And some of you may remember I had back surgery a few weeks before the draft last year. And I literally went to my 1-year checkup a couple weeks ago, and the doctor said, if that happens again, I think I'm gonna lose my and I said, well, doc, it's 1 year out, I'm good now. And he said, yeah, you probably are. But that moment when he saw that last year, one of the players came up, and it was just that moment. And I did ask, if you're gonna do it, just go high. And he did. And it didn't hurt, and I'm okay. So it was a good moment.
I'm sure you probably train all year for the moment, if I had to imagine.
Well, you saw me in the gym this morning, Jess.
Exactly.
So Jess was and she's back in New York. She's in the office early, obviously, but she's also there in the gym. First thing, she's one of the first there. And I do train for it. That's no joke. I do. And to get into this weekend is physically hard.
Now, somebody's in the room has to fact check me, because I've heard maybe we hosted a draft years and years and years ago here in Green Bay, but this is really the first
It
Temple
was
event.
1940, but Mike, is that right? Mike, can I see that? Is that 40?
I don't think anybody in the room was here for that draft, so it's safe to say none of us remember it. This is really the first Temple event that we've hosted in Green Bay, such an iconic staple of NFL history since the 1940 NFL draft. What are you most excited about being here in Green Bay, getting, you know, all of our fans here, everybody in attendance to experience what Green Bay has to offer?
Well, you know, I always say about the draft, and when we decided to put it on the road roughly 10 years ago, it was an interesting story. And so we had talked about it, and the idea was to take the fan to the game on this draft on the road to make sure that the fans could each experience it in a different way, and the communities would have something to rally around it and have that spotlight of the NFL on it for a few days. We debated it because New York was so successful, and you know, we were like, well, you know what, it's really great, and it's a great lesson about business, about always being willing to take a calculated risk, that you sometimes have to do that to continue to grow. So the owners of the Radio City Music Hall, where we were, decided they were going to have a spring holiday show, and said, we can't have you for the draft until June. And that was easy. I said, okay, now we're on the road. And we went to Chicago and never looked back, honestly. This experience has been so great for us, but I think it's been great for the fans who, you know, have a chance to be part of it. You experience it, but you really are part of it. You make the difference ultimately. And we have a list of teams back there that's longer than 32. They keep going back in line again, so it just keeps going and going. And that's a tribute again to the power of what all of you bring when you come together and you get behind something like the draft. It's just an amazing experience. To do it here in Green Bay, where you have, the historical significance of the Green Bay Packers, you can't write the history of the National Football League without the Green Bay Packers. It's impossible. Great events, great teams, great players. Oh, an icon of a coach who we name our Super Bowl trophy after. It's just, it's a place that just has an important role in the National Football League for its 105 years now. And so I think for us, this is a really special moment to be able to share it. And it's the smallest market, but it is the mightiest market in many ways. So that's the cool thing for us. So we think it's going to be awesome for all of you as well as us.
We're certainly feeling it already, starting to see more and more jerseys populating around the streets, and can't wait for many of you to get a sneak peek in the theater tomorrow before we put, at least as of now, the Tennessee Titans on the clock.
You're right, could change overnight, yeah, you never know.
Now, the league has really grown. You talk about the history of Green Bay and the roots of the NFL here, but again, a huge credit to you. We've grown tremendously in terms of our investment and engagement internationally. And again, we see it looking around the room here. Got UK Commanders logo, Bears international fan, Chargers here. Got some incredible roots internationally as well. Can you share with us a little bit one of your favorite memories or some of your favorite memories around our international growth, whether that be one of the games that we've hosted or some of the early trips that we've made, even pre NFL international games as we've seen them today?
Well, one just happened today, but it was literally, I was seeing what they call the dive bar. I don't know if you've been there outside of Lambeau yet, but it's something the Packers created. And a young couple came over from London, and they were just recently married. She's pregnant, and they're both wearing their Packers gear from head to toe. And just talking about how the NFL has changed their lives and how meaningful it is to them. It just, when you walk away from that saying, we're really lucky to be part of something that people care about ultimately. And it can change lives. It can bring people together. And in a world where probably we have too much divisiveness, the NFL is that one thing that can unify. And it can be that, what we call it, the convener. And so having that opportunity where everyone gets together, they have fun, sometimes joking about the other team, sometimes they're real. I see the Vikings back there, I see that. Be careful here this weekend, I know. I have a daughter who's a Vikings fan, so just to be clear. So, and another one is a Seahawks fan. I haven't seen the Seahawks, where are they back there? And I won't tell you where my wife is from, because she's from Chicago. So but I think, and then when you have these fans who travel, in this case from London, for the weekend to come to Green Bay and to experience it, and they were talking about their experience with the games in London and coming here, but they said it was harder to get a ticket in Lambeau than it is in London for them. So that shows you really the passion that our fans have throughout all of Europe, because our fans come from all over to go to those games. And every time we bring our game to another market, last year Brazil, it was amazing. It's just like somebody turned the lights on and let everyone's passion go wild, ultimately. And we're thrilled. We've got 7 games this year, 6 in Europe. I'm getting this right off the top of my head, and 1 in Brazil. New stadiums in Berlin, which are a new market for us. We have been there. We got some Berliners. Good. And Madrid for the first time. I don't know if we have anyone from Spain here, but that's going to be exciting. And Dublin. So the Irish are here too. Yeah. But it's really been a fun journey for me, because actually my first international game was London. And my second one was Berlin, actually. The commissioner, my predecessor, Paul Tegler, who said, and I was a young person in the office to say that, I wouldn't even call myself an executive. And he said, we've got to go figure out a market to play an international preseason game, so go figure it out. The wall had just come down in Berlin. I said, let's go look at Berlin. And Olympic Stadium has a tremendous history, and it was unbelievable. Never had a game there before, very little television coverage, if any, and it was just a huge hit. And so for me, I think it's sharing our game with the world. I think that's the greatest thing, and helping fans find a passion. And I believe our game can be, let's just put it, one of the most popular games. That doesn't mean I'm going to settle for that. We're going to go for the most popular, but one of the most popular games in the world. But we have to do the job of sharing it, and that international games is part of that strategy, along with the media coverage, consumer products, and partnering with sponsors who really help bring the game closer, and finding more ways to engage our fans. And that's what we're on the journey to do.
Oh, that's pretty incredible. I think full circle moment, because if I'm not mistaken, that couple you're talking about is sitting at the table right back here.
Stand up. There you go. Are you guys following me around or what?
Now, I'm sure we got plenty of fans in the audience, and I have some questions for you, so I want to get to those. But I think one thing that would be interesting for the group to hear is, Commissioner of the NFL, certainly a rewarding and I'm sure challenging job. Can you share maybe a few nuggets of something that's the most exciting about the role and maybe the most challenging? Besides having to endure the hugs tomorrow.
No, I'm happy to do that. That's not in even the top 100. I love that part. I would say the most rewarding is the impact you have on people's lives. A lot of people have careers, but they don't have careers where you can really help change people's lives. You can't, you can bring people together, you can bring enjoyment to them. And it really came home to me a lot during COVID. During COVID, nobody thought we could play. Everyone just said, no, there's no way you could do it from a safety standpoint, all the other challenges that we had. And we really wanted to play to demonstrate that there was normality in the world, that we were going to get back, we were going to get through this together. We were all sick and tired of seeing the White House briefings. For those of you who weren't in the States, that's all we saw every day. Where's the curve? And it was nothing but depressing news. And actually the draft was the first thing that was up. The draft was in Las Vegas that year, and it was probably a month away or so. And we had to decide not to play it in Vegas, but to go virtual with it, which is a really difficult decision just from our team standpoint. I mean, the coaches were all looking at us like we were crazy. The personnel guys because at the core, the draft is the most fundamental and important aspect of building a football team. That is critical. And so if you mess with that, you're in trouble. And we were able to pull that off without a hitch. It just so happened that things started to break a little bit, and we had the draft, that was here from my basement actually. And my recollection was the number was like 55 to 60 million people watched it. Because there really wasn't anything else on television, to be honest with you. But it was amazing for us, and that started us down that path of saying, stay on time, let's find ways to get everything done. So we worked hard to not change a thing, and we committed to saying we're going to start on time, we're going to end on time, we're going to play every single game. We had a few close calls, I promise you that. We had Baltimore-Pittsburgh played Wednesday afternoon. I think it was our first Wednesday game, because we were still testing guys at 2 o'clock that afternoon. But it was a point of trying to bring that sense of normality, and that we're going to get through this. And I think the NFL played a part in that. And that, to me, that's by far the proudest point. And we saw it a little bit even after 9/11. People looked to us to sort of say, well, when are you going to play? Are you going to take a week off? How are you going to deal with this? How are you going to strike that balance between, making sure that we did it in a respectful fashion to all the people and all the families that were going through such a difficult time, but also try to bring people back to a place where we all pulled together and said, we're going to go forward, we're going to get through this. And that's the inspirational moments that, to me, if we have that position in society and hopefully the globe pretty soon, that will make me incredibly proud.
It's a really incredible moment. And you mentioned having to play a game almost every day of the week during the pandemic year, and I think that might be our new norm at this point. Games on Wednesdays of Christmas and other holidays, so it's really exciting to see.
It did open up a lot of doors. We kept saying, what are we going to learn from this? And we did learn about more flexibility in the schedule, that you can play an NFL game on a little shorter period of time. So obviously health and safety is number one for us, but we found that the reaction was quite positive, and so we have been able to bring a little bit more of that flexibility in. And we have made our game safer, and I think that's given us opportunities.
Well, as I mentioned, we certainly want to hear from the fans, so I'm going to turn it over to you guys to ask your questions of Commissioner. If anybody who has a question, please raise your hand. We'll do our best to get through as many as we can over the next couple minutes here.
We're going to start with Bill.
This is amazing. This is Ryan and Bill. We're from Canada. And Commissioner, you've done a great job as the commissioner for the last 18 years with the NFL and growing the game. And my question to you is, who do you look up to and why?
Wow. One of the things I say is, if you ever stop learning, you should get out of the job. I learn every day, and I honestly, I expect to learn a lot today about what you guys care about, what we're doing well, what we're not doing well. So I think being a learner is really important, and that also means having a lot of mentors. I have mentors in every shape and size, every age. I have twin daughters who are 23. They're crazy football fans. They're always texting me about what's going on in the league. They're usually first to tell me to, by the way. That my staff back there will be the last to say that. But they're amazing, and they care about the game. My wife. So we're a football family. We love it, and to me, that is sort of the core of who I am ultimately. And I think. You can always learn from people, and you're always going to need support, and you're always going to need people to sort of prop you up. Not every day is easy, particularly in this job. But, I really do feel like we're making a difference, and that sort of gets me going. And thanks for being here. I have no idea where to go, but somebody over there, I guess, right? You guys should just take the mics and give them to whoever you wish. I'm happy to answer any question.
Hi, Commissioner. I'm from Canada as well, and my husband is the Vikings International Fan of the Year. Wow. And my question to you is there any plans of the NFL bringing a game to Canada?
Yeah, one of the things that we've struggled with is, we used to play, the Bills used to play there almost every year in Toronto. But it really became an issue of the stadium for us. Not just the quality of the stadium, but the quality of the fields. And I'm not putting down any of the stadiums up there, but it was just, that was the market we thought that was going to reach the most fans in Toronto and give them the opportunity. We used to play in Montreal going back a ways, which was exciting. And we played in the Olympic Stadium up there. But I think that's a big part of it is the stadium for us, and having a world-class stadium that's suitable for the NFL. There's lots of world-class facilities up there. But I think for us, it's really, that's the stage for us. That's a big factor ultimately. Just whoever's got the mic, I'm good.
Hi, Jonathan for the Seahawks as the International Fan of the Year. First of all, I have to thank you as for all of the International Fans of the Year to bringing us today here. And you had such an immense impact on the German community and the international community. So first, thanks to you.
Thank you.
And as you can imagine, we're really excited to be here this weekend. And that brings me to my question. Have you any plans for us over the next months or the next year, as we are your International Fan of the Year?
You mean for the program or for international fans in general?
For us this year, so we have like any plans to bring us to another international game or like a Super Bowl or something?
Alles klar.
I don't think there's any support here for that. You know what? I give you credit for standing up for that one. You can go to any international game you want. Let me know.
My name's Anderson, and I'm from Wisconsin, and I was wondering if you would ever bring a Super Bowl to Green Bay.
You know, you're about the fourth person.
That says it all on the no. That's a no for me. That's a no for me. He's one step on.
That's now great timing. Perfect timing. I did not do that, I promise. The answer is, I think, honestly, that the Super Bowl is so difficult to host in the sense of all the facilities that you need nowadays. I mean, I think we now need over 40,000 hotel rooms for people, airport size. You can't transportation. I think it would be very difficult to do in a market this size. And that's one of the reasons why we're moving the draft around to other markets, so they could get some sense of that kind of an NFL event in their community that they can host and that they can put their own spin on it. And the big thing for me over the next few days is for Green Bay to do this the way that make them proud. I want everyone to know this draft is from Green Bay. I thought last year, probably an unpopular thing to say, Detroit did a great job because it was. Yes, you did, but because you did it in a way that made, I think, the city proud, and you could just see that passion, and that's what I hope will come across for everybody as they look at this around the world this weekend.
We're back here.
Hi Roger, my name is Benita Crouch. I'm the USA Women's National Flag Football Team quarterback. We met. You guys met before, and I've had the privilege of coaching the Pro Bowl along Eli Manning. And I know the NFL is talking a lot about flag football, and there's a recent post that there was 15 states that are introducing flag football at varsity state, and we're trying to push the other 35. And I thank you for your quote about talking about flag football becoming potentially a pro sport by the NFL, so thank you for that. And it just kind of made me wonder, where did the NFL kind of birth the idea of like being inspired to push flag football?
Particularly for women, I'm assuming you're asking or not. Flag football in general, or flag football for women?
Flag football.
Because I will tell you, we are really inspired about seeing young women play our game. I think that it's one of the things that to be able to share our game and see them play it, and particularly, you all have heard of Steve Young or know Steve Young. I was out in San Francisco last year, and he brought his two daughters that he was coaching their team. He brought all 35 of the young women up there. And the way they talked about the game, the confidence that it gave them, the strength that it gave them, quite honestly, and they all just, that they felt the power of the game and the values that, for those of us who were fortunate to play the game, I still use every one of those things every day of my life. The teamwork, the perseverance, the discipline, all of those things are really what football teaches you and for life. And so to be able to share that with young women, to me, is great. So we have 15 states that have certified high school football. We have 17 more, I think, that are in pilot programs. And so that'll be 32 when we get through there. A lot of it's just a legislative cycle and what has to happen to do that. NCA has certified it, and we're going through that process, so I see it there. And we are very serious about having a professional flag league for both men and women. And we'll see you there. We'll see you there if you're not in the Olympics. So because
You'll
that's
see me in both.
okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Nobody's helping me out. These people down here. Go ahead, John Elway.
All right. I'll stand up so they can see me in the back.
No need to scream.
Come on up on stage if you want.
There you go.
All right, go Browns!
Hello, Commissioner Goodell. My name is Brad Williams. Nice to meet you. Just wanted to say, obviously, one of the big hot topics over this off season is the play, the tush push, the brotherly shove. If it's going to be banned, not. But my question is, the late football coach Mike Leach. It was recently discovered that he had suggested putting a little person in the backfield and actually tossing him over the line. For short yardage situations. Yes! I have a job! Commissioner Goodell.
We've got the other mic working, fingers crossed, so we've got two going.
Hi Roger, it's Mary Still, international fan from the Detroit Lions. As you maybe know, St. Brown is one of the biggest German players in the NFL, and they're hosting a training camp in Munich, and every Lions fan in Europe is waiting for a Lions camp in Germany, in Munich. So tell me, if it's coming next year to Munich.
Next year or this year?
Next year, 2026.
Oh, well, you're way ahead of me because we're still trying to figure out 25. We're pretty close. We'll be announcing our schedule. We're probably the second week in May. We've been spending an awful lot of time on it. We got a team back there working almost around the clock on it. And they do an amazing job. I'll just tell you the work that they're doing and the things that they consider. But we're very excited. I saw the international schedule that we think is probably 80% for this year. We only have one site that we've announced for Australia next year. I don't know if you have anyone from Australia. That's a cool fit for us. But the teams, we're doing that along with the schedule. So we really won't know that until a year from now, roughly.
Okay. Just make sure the lights play me.
Hello, thank you very much for doing this. The Browns are coming over to London again in 2025. We had them in 2017. I run the British Bulldogs Browns Backers, the official fan club of the Browns. We found it really difficult to get like group seating for the Browns. And so we're just wondering.
From the Browns, did you say?
No, from NFL UK. So like I've emailed NFL UK and just gotten absolutely blanked by emails. What can the NFL do in terms of nurturing the existing fan bases in order to help us, where all we want to do is watch the team together in person, as we do every week on TV when we watch together as a team, as a fan club. So how can you help out with that?
Yeah, well, first off, I'm sorry because you should never get a blank answer from us. That's not acceptable. If we can't meet the demand, we should tell you that. But I think part of it is the demand for tickets. Ultimately, over there, as I said, the experience that you guys had, you said it's easier to get a ticket in Lambeau, which is hard to do. It's harder to do that in London. But I do think there are ways in which we supported that. And as a matter of fact, the Packers were talking about how they're doing that in may not be the right way to say it, but bars all around the world. They're having a program where they get all of the fan club members together to watch it in a bar. And I think that's a cool thing. I know the Browns have had a long history of that here in the US. They were actually at one point probably the team that did that the best in executing that. So we should probably get your name and number and try to contact you and see how we can support you on that. Well, they're getting somebody, go ahead. Unless you're gonna come up on the stage too. You wanna
I started something.
You really did.
We've got a mic if you would like, okay?
International fans should be up there.
Thank you. My name is Hector Molina. I'm from Mexico. I was a season ticket holder for 2 years in San Diego. When the Chargers moved to LA, I started working hard with the base fans in Baja, because people get a little divorced with the team. And it started growing and growing this year. That's why I'm here. The Chargers recognized me that. And now I bring like 200 more people to the stadium because friends and colleges and schools, everything. And I feel like what happened to the places where they've lost teams, Why we don't work with those teams? Because there's people still loving the team, yeah? In Baja, we are a football state in Mexico. That's the primary sport in the state. We need the NFL there. It's hard for everybody to move from Tijuana to LA. And that's why I start making buses and everything, and I make it for free for the Chargers. That's why recognize me, because I need to support the team. Now, as the international fan of the year, I promised the Spanish family, I tell them face to face, my compromise is that now I have a title, a honor title, and I need to bring more people. And my goal for the year is bring 500 people to the stadium. And I'm working with schools, university, football leagues, local, and I need the NFL to support me. Maybe not me because I do it for free. And they say, we cannot support you directly because we cannot make support to Mexico because we are authorized to make it that. So I'm telling you,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for doing that. I bet you will too. Man, you guys are impressive. I think that's getting into, we have what's called a national marketing program. So for us, each team gets marketing territories when they apply for it. They have to get the rights to that, and then they can market in that community. I don't know, and maybe somebody's here enough to, maybe does the Chargers have Mexico?
They do not currently.
But I'm surprised that they don't. They should. And so we'll talk to them about that. I think it's a really great idea. So, and again, thank you. That's pretty cool what you're doing.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Well, Commissioner, thank you so much for taking time to answer so many questions. We are coming up on the end of time, and we do want to leave enough time. I'm sure everybody in the room would love a picture.
Yeah.
So want to leave plenty of time in your schedule to do that. But
Why
really,
don't you take 2 more and then we'll go.
Sir, I've got a couple of jerseys I'd like to present to you from Australia.
Okay, we'll do that. Just when you come up, we'll take the picture. We'll do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, do we have time for one more question?
2 more questions.
2? Okay, we've got a very excited fan from Falcons.
Marco here from Germany.
Yes.
The international fan of the Falcons.
Congratulations.
Roger, do you already can announce which team will play against the Colts in Berlin this year?
I'm really tempted, but I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. Because it's not 100%. Anytime it's not an excuse, but it's literally when you make a single little change in the schedule, it has a multiplier effect of about 50 different things. So I do believe we're going to have an answer for that within the next 2 weeks. So.
All right, we've got one more question from a Chargers fan.
Hi, I'm Darlene from Kansas City, but a diehard Chargers fan with diehard and low pride KC. But I do have a question for you. Are there going to be more replays to hold refs accountable for plays that are very costly to the game?
First off, I'll just say this, and I mean this. The officials are incredible. And I know that they're under incredible scrutiny, but the reality is you are seeing, if you go back and look at a film of a game 20 years ago, you would be shocked. The difference of what you're seeing today versus what you're seeing then is amazing. And so when technology gets better, we obviously encourage that. We want to use technology to help make our officials better too. And so we're expanding what we call replay assist to, I think it's about 9 or 10 additional fouls that we're going to be able to identify. And if it's the flag is thrown incorrectly, we will be able to correct it using the technology. So the answer to that is yes, we are doing that. I would love to get to the point where we could use that technology to actually throw a flag. It is incredibly complicated. There's a lot of resistance from particularly coaches, but because it does open up a lot more doors of, are you going to throw a flag over here for holding that didn't have anything to do with the play? So it can be very complicated, but I see us using technology, and the clubs are really embracing it to help our officials do an even better job. But I can't express it enough. When we sit downstairs, we sit with our coaches. We have all 32 in there, and we're showing the play. And any single play that's close, it's about half and half. And that's the reality. You may not like it because it didn't go against your team, but the reality, it is so close. And you're seeing so much now that it's a really difficult job, but we want to try to get it right. But sometimes right is in the eyes of the beholder when you get to that point, honestly.
I'm hearing we might have time for more questions. Is that true?
I think Mr. Gallo in the back overruled your 2 more, and we're going to make him pick the next one.
I see my boss over there, Haiti. She's nodding her head yes. So
all right.
If she says I don't have to get out of here, I'm here. So.
Okay. Well, we've got a question from a Chieftain.
You have no right to complain. Hey, I'm here with all my glory, brother. This nice San Diego Chargers fan, I'm going to say this once, LA Charger fan, take my question. But I have another question. As you can tell, I got a sweet tooth. I want to know where the M&Ms are.
Well, if you want to come backstage, I think we'll have some back there. I always have somebody coming up, what kind of M&Ms do you want at the draft in the back room? So I will be popping them tomorrow night. This keeps me going.
That was my tongue cheek. My real question is, you mentioned earlier that you have a lot of mentors.
A lot of what?
Mentors?
Yes.
Are you looking for a mentee?
Sure.
I'd like to
I think if you benefit from being a mentor, you should have a mentee, right?
Right.
So I agree with that.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right. So I think we've got time for maybe one more. Lions fan?
I better ask Katie. I don't know where she went. I don't see her back there anymore.
Hello, Mr. Goodell. Thank you for everything you've done for us here today. You really appreciate it. My question's a little bit of a difficult one to kind of put to you. Basically, you've done an amazing job of growing the game in the UK over the years, and we recently found out that all loyal season ticket holders will not be allowed to renew this coming season. And this isn't just affecting fans from the UK. This is affecting fans and people that we know from the rest of Europe and everything like that, because it is an international game. So my question is to you, could you please maybe look into speaking with the people at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, probably David Daniel Levy himself, and putting the fans first again in reversing the decision to take our season tickets away from us?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, honestly, so that's news to me. Is that for all of the?
Yes. Every single one.
I promise you we'll have a conversation about it, and I'll find out what the reason is.
Doesn't matter who you support.
I think, part of it, honestly, and I don't know, but I think it might and likely would be in the context of trying to get more people an opportunity to be able to experience it. And there's probably a middle road kind of solution where you rotate in some kind of basis.
What they're doing is they're allowing season ticket holders from past to have access to this game from then on.
Yeah, trade for. And like I said, you know, a lot of people are paying, they send them each other over the years.
7 years.
I got you. I promise we'll look into it.
Thank you, appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
All right.
Great question.
Tough questions.
Come on.
All right, I love your hat. We're gonna give it to the Texans fan next.
Yeah, so I have a question about celebrations, right? Because, you know, when I watch a game on Sunday, Monday, Thursday, or whatever the case may be, I love the wide receiver, running back, or whoever. I think of Joe Horn pulling up the cell phone, you know, out of the end zone. You know, I think of Randy Moss, and we get the point, right? When can we let touchdowns be great again?
Well, I would disagree with you on this one. So we are allowing players to celebrate there are limits. With all due respect to everybody in this room, there are people who don't like some of that. So when you take out and you pull out and you're like you're shooting a gun, we are going to fine you for it.
Yeah.
We do think it's disrespectful. There are people who are not going to. And so I'm not apologizing for some of this stuff. We are going to allow people to celebrate, but they're going to celebrate with class. And if they're going to insult other people, they're not going to do it. And that's all there is to it.
Commissioner, we talked a lot about the future, got a lot of questions about next season. While we're not talking any games yet, we'd really love to end us on just what should fans be most excited for or looking forward to as we look ahead to 2025. So much of tomorrow is about looking ahead to the future, new draftees, finding out where they're playing. What should all the folks in this room and our millions of fans across the world be most excited about?
Well, I always start with the game because I always think the game is to me what I always look forward to are the individual performances and the team performances. How does that? They're always surprises. The great thing about the NFL is every one of your teams have hope to get into the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. That is absolutely the core of what we do. And we see it every year. We see teams going from last place in the division into the playoffs. So that is something that we all work in every part of our scheduling and how the draft. It's on the basis of trying to give every team the opportunity to be in the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. Beyond that, I think, and there wasn't much discussion about it, is how we're trying to reach our fans through new platforms. I think you'll see some exciting things this year. That a lot of fans don't have the same opportunities to see games because of their choices of how they get their media services. Or for the international fans, how we can get more exposure for our international games in each of those markets. So I think those two things for me is how we can give you better access to our games, and not just to the games, it's also the non-game content. We spend a lot of time on how do we give you access to the fans and the teams so you understand better who the players are, what they're thinking, what the coaches are thinking, how do we give you that access? I mean, when I grew up here in the States, I had to wait to watch a highlight of a game until Monday night. And I'm not that ancient, okay? I'm 66, but I'm telling you, that's what we did. We stayed up at halftime to watch the highlights. It's not even close to it. It has never been a better time to be a fan of the NFL because of that access. And we're just gonna keep trying to improve that and give you more and more access and more shows. You know, like quarterback. I don't know how many people got to watch the quarterbacks. And that, you know, that kind of, to me, that kind of opportunity to see a different side of football and that access is really, really important. So we're going to keep doing that. We have a lot of new ideas on that. You'll see a lot of new movies, new shows. We did a joint venture with Skydance Media, and the whole idea is to bring more of that type of content to you all beyond just the game.
Well, Commissioner Goodell, thank you so much for taking the time to answer some of our questions.